I recently had an interesting experience that I wanted to share with all of you. Because for me it was a big learning opportunity. So over the past 4 months or so, I've had 4 contacts from different production companies wanting to talk about TV projects. And in a way this is super flattering. You know, they found me through YouTube and Chipmunk. And seemed to just like my presentation. And so, as you probably know from some of my other videos, I'm not really big on television. I haven't had a television for over 20 years, and I don't like the whole advertising thing and the message that seems to give to people. So I have a lot of resistance to television in general. But this last opportunity, it was tempting for a number of reasons. And some of those reasons surprised me. One of the cool things about this opportunity was that I was going to get to fulfill a lifelong dream, which was to spend a large amount of solo time out in nature. And I would be doing it in such a way that it would be solo. It was a self-shooting project, so there wouldn't be film crews there. And, you know, there's some amount of compensation for this. And so, to get paid to do something that I always wanted to do, wow, just seemed like, you know, opportunity from heaven. How can this be true? Of course, I had to weigh that I have two daughters that are under 4 years old, and a wife who I just adore. I have this school here that I'm running, and students lined up who I would have had to turn aside and say, you know, I'll have to bump you to next year. Next year's people are going to get bumped to the year after that. And so all of those things weighed pretty heavily on me. But I think I was surprised at how tempting the thought of getting more recognition and making more money, how tempting those two things were for me. In a way, I want to say that I thought I was further along spiritually or emotionally than that I wouldn't feel any temptation from those two elements. Those, I think, are two things in our culture that it's so pushed into us, and they hold so much power, that people will recognize you. You know, this whole idea of fame on a small level or a larger level. And in a way, we're all getting to experience that when we put out a YouTube video and someone comments, you know, when we see that people have watched it, there's that feeling that people are looking at you and liking you. Of course, the flip side of fame is that usually just as many people dislike you as like you, especially as you become more and more famous. But it's easy to overlook that and just to sort of get this little high off of people liking us. And it was interesting to me that philosophically I can understand that really the people that matter are the people that I'm directly interacting with. You know, family, friends, people that comment on this channel, I can comment back. Some of you I hope to meet in person someday. There are real relationships that get forged there. But again, there's also this emotional, like, high that I think we get when we see the number of our subscribers, you know, or the thought of being on television and having, you know, 10% of the nation watching you on TV. What would that be like? What would it be like for everybody to recognize your name as a household name? And in a way, it's just getting a very superficial kudos from strangers. And so, what is the real temptation there? Money, similarly. I've been able in my life to interact with people who would be considered at the bottom of the socioeconomic scale, and people that are very high on that scale. And I've seen over and over again that money has almost nothing to do with happiness or the quality of a human being. That you can have millions of dollars in the bank and you can be a super happy person that has a lot of integrity and is really together. You can also have millions of dollars in the bank and be completely unhappy with your life. Same thing if you're homeless. In my own life, I am certainly not considered high on the socioeconomic scale at all. And yet, I find that there's plenty for my family and to share with the people around me. And so, I was a little shocked at the temptation of having, to have quite a bit more coming in than we currently do. Even though I know that doesn't create happiness. Most powerfully of all, I think this served for me it put up this possibility of what Rebecca, my wife, calls a rop, a rite of passage. It's something we don't have in our culture. Something that tests your mettle, that puts all of your skills, all of the physical, emotional, mental strength that you've cultivated thus far in your life, kind of to the test. Puts you in a place where you have to meet challenges and really stand up and find your way through them. Challenges that may seem too big or too powerful. And this opportunity, especially with the loneliness involved in being solo for maybe up to a year, that I knew that would put everything I have to the test. It would also put my bushcraft skills to the test in a major way. And so, this powerful feeling of like my rock, my rite of passage. And I was talking with my brother as I was, asking different people for counsel with this decision of whether to do it or not. My brother, he's a major adventurer. He's spent 2 years living in a ger in Mongolia with almost no other English speakers anywhere. A lot of time in Southeast Asia. Spent a year in Nepal. He's an adventurer, and he said, Ken, it's totally not worth it. Even if you would become super famous, even if you would make millions of dollars at this, it's not worth it, because the time with your family is more precious than that. And he said, it also doesn't accord with your values. Doesn't accord with your values. And I knew when he said that it was true. That I am not about trying to be famous, trying to be rich, trying to have my name recognized. What I'm trying to do out here with my little school is just to reach out and touch individuals and to make a difference in their lives. I've cultivated some amazing ways of living in my own life. I know that. And I know that I know how to share that with others and pass it on. And so, why was I thinking that I would need more recognition from my school? Do I want students, knocking on the door and having to do great big group classes? And no, I love the way it is. It's small, it's individualized, and And so I really had to thank my brother for opening up my eyes in that way. A number of other people gave me similar counsel, and I have to thank them for that. I think the thing I would want to pass on, the lesson that I learned, is to really examine. A lot of you may get opportunities like this as your channels grow and production companies contact you, and is to really look at our motivations. Why do we want more people to recognize us? Is that as important as being a really quality person for the people that are more immediately in our lives? Is it worth it to be away from our family for days or weeks or months, even if we're getting the love of millions of other people, if we're not able to give love and receive love from our families, from those people that are closest in our lives? To ask about that role of money that seems so ubiquitous in our culture, that we seek after money and we think that it's going to solve our problems, it's going to make our life better. Is it really? Or is the key to life, to happiness in life, have to do with relationships, with being mindful of the moment we're in? It harkens back to a time when Rebecca and I were in a really tough financial place a few years back. And we had a house in the country. We were in the process of losing it because our life financially was just falling apart. And we were walking down the road, and we looked at each other and we realized in that moment we were infinitely wealthy. We were walking down that country road. It was beautiful out. We had nowhere to be. We had no schedule imposed on us, at least for that half hour, for that moment that we were in. Money could not have purchased something better than just walking hand in hand down that country road on that beautiful summer day. And then finally, and a question I'd want to leave you all with has to do with that rite of passage. I do feel like this is something that's powerfully missing in our culture. It's something that men and women, teenagers as they're coming up and looking to become adults as they retire and leave their jobs behind and move on to that new era of their lives. Could we have rites of passage in this culture that would empower you during those transitions, that would just be such powerful experiences that you could hearken back to those experiences and say, wow, I remember that rite of passage that I went through. And that colors and flavors all of my life from here on forward. I know I can rise up and meet challenges that, even if they leave me shaking in fear, I know that I can surpass, that I can exceed even my own expectations of what my inner strength is. I know that my skills have been put to the test and they came through, or I failed and I grew because of that failure. And so I would like to leave you with that question. I mean, that's something I'm trying to do here at Rewell University to some extent, but I would love to see more programs offered at my school and at other places around the country. Other opportunities for people to have these rites of passage. What do those rites of passage look like? How could we do that within the framework of our current culture and create experiences that would leave people forever changed? I would love your ideas. I think that if we put a bunch of those ideas into the comments here. It not only, some of them might serve as inspiration for others to create their own rite of passage in their life, but for those of us who do run schools, it might also be an opportunity to look and say, there's something I could create out of this idea that would become a powerful open door for people to experience rites of passage during different times of their lives. So I would greatly value your ideas and your input there. Also your thoughts about TV opportunities. It's not something I'm completely closed to, but I don't think I want to be away from my family like that. Maybe something here at the Rewild U training grounds, following students through their adventures. Would that be interesting to watch? So, please, I would love to get your input on those two questions, the ROP and is there a TV program or maybe something I could do on YouTube, in a program sort of way that would really be not only amazing and fun to watch, but really would inspire and educate and just give tools for navigating this sometimes very confusing life. So, thank you all for watching. I hope that this was worth your time and that you could gain something from the process I went through and the learning and insight that I experienced. Thanks a lot.